In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at one of the more unusual starseed races, the Lyrans. And we're going to be talking about those main characteristics that separate Lyran starseeds from starseeds of some of the star races that we're more familiar with. Hey y'all, I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics. And as you know, every starseed race is unique. It has its own skills, abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. And so today we're going to be taking a look at the Lyrans, or sometimes they're called the Lyrans, and taking a look at what separates them and makes them unique and different from some of the other starseed races. So the first thing that is important to know about the Lyrans and Lyran Starseeds is that the Lyran star system was actually the home of human consciousness in our galaxy. So all human form in our galaxy originates from the Lyran star system. And so what that means, according to the guides, is that almost all humans have genetics from the Lyran star system. So in a way, we're all Lyran starseeds. But there is a reason why we don't hear as many starseeds calling themselves or referring to themselves as Lyran starseeds. And the reason for this is because the Lyran civilization was so long ago, if we are thinking in our linear time construct, that the Lyrans actually spread out and colonized most of our galaxy. You've probably heard the history of the Lyran system, and there were some very terrible wars, just absolute devastation in the Lyran star system with the reptilians that we are all familiar with. And what happened is this caused the Lyrans and their sister star system, the Vegans, to spread out and seek refuge all throughout the galaxy. And what happened then is the Lyrans ended up spreading out to a lot of the star systems that we're more familiar with, like the Pleiades or Sirius or Orion. So many of the starseed races that we are all very familiar with actually have Lyran origins. But we tend to focus a lot of times on the descendants of the Lyrans in the form of these other star races that are more familiar to us. So the most important thing to know about the Lyrans is there's a little Lyran in almost all of us. The one exception to that, according to the guides, not the only exception, but one of the more common exceptions is the Arcturians, who came into the galaxy through a unique kind of separate process. So they may not have Lyran genetics or as strong of Lyran genetics as many other starseed races, but in general, because the Lyrans were all of our forefathers, most of us will have some Lyran genetics in ourselves. The next thing that is important to know about the Lyrans is they were great travelers and explorers. They really did spread out all throughout the galaxy, not necessarily at their own choosing. It was very much a result of the wars in the Lyran star system that caused them to scatter. But as a result of this, they ended up exploring the entire galaxy. And so one thing that Lyran starseeds are known for is loving to travel. They are explorers at heart. The next thing that may appear to you if you are familiar with Lyran starseeds, or if you are one yourself, is that they have a very strong work ethic. So the Lyrans are really people who excelled at getting the task done, getting the job done, getting it done. And because of this, they really are known to love to work. They are doers. They love to be busy. They love to have something in their hands that they're working on all the time. So we often even see this as a love of physical labor. So they don't even mind physical labor the way a lot of star races do. This is something that is very part of the Lyran genetics, is liking to be busy, liking to be active, always working on something, not really liking to have a lot of downtime, still time. So the Lyrans, you will often notice, are very much action oriented. So now let's talk a little bit about the personality of Lyran starseeds, because it is a little different from some of the starseed races we've been talking about. And one of the things that separates Lyran starseeds from some of the more familiar star races is they do have a tendency to be a little aloof, a little reserved, a little serious, and they can even push it a little to the point of some arrogance, some control, being very strong-willed. These are all things that are very common in Lyran Starseeds. So again, if you're looking at the personality of a Lyran Starseed, they are not quite that love and light, go with the flow. They can be a little more serious, not really having a lot of patience with having their time wasted with anything frivolous. They are very focused and determined starseeds. Another thing you may notice about Lyran starseeds is they really don't like big groups of people. So Lyran starseeds are known for keeping their group small. They need time to recharge themselves whenever they have been around a lot of people. And again, that's not completely unique in the starseed community, but the Lyrans in particular are known for keeping their friendship circles small. They're not those starseeds who are necessarily going to want to have thousands of acquaintances, be the life of the party, the center of attention. They tend to keep things a little smaller, a little closer to home. And so this is something that you will very often notice in Lyran starseeds as well. Another thing that is often said about Lyran starseeds is that they often do tend to appear or have a personality type that you may consider to be kind of an introvert or a loner. So again, they are a starseed that is more likely to keep to themselves than to seek to be out being the life of the party. But there is an interesting thing about Lyran starseeds. For as much as they kind of prefer to keep a low profile, they have personalities that are very magnetic. So a lot of people are drawn to Lyran starseeds, to the strength that they have, that confidence, that ability to follow what they think is right without really caring what anyone else thinks. And because of this, they make great leaders. They have just a personality that a lot of people are drawn to. They may not open themselves up to a lot of people, but they're very attractive in their energy, very compelling. It's very easy to want to be around a Lyran starseed. So let me know in the comments below if you're a Lyran starseed yourself. And if so, what do you consider to be the strengths and weaknesses of Lyran starseeds? And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button and give me a like if you are learning something about the Lyran starseed. So let's move on now to one of the other things that the Lyran starseeds are very much known for, and that is having a love of cats. So we know that some of the other starseed races are drawn to particular species, and for the Lyran starseeds, they are known to have a deep love of felines, of cats. One of the reasons for this is when the Lyrans were first seeded in the Lyran star system, they were actually created by the feline species of the galaxy. So having kind of creators that come from the feline species gives the Lyran starseeds a love of feline energy. It's very familiar to them, very soothing to them. And so that's one of the reasons why Lyran starseeds in particular can be very drawn to cats. Another thing that you will notice about Lyran starseeds is they tend to have very athletic bodies. We've been talking in several of these videos about some of the physical differences between the starseed races. You can see the manifestation of starseed genetics in certain unique quirks of each starseed race. And so one of the things that you will notice about Lyran starseeds is they tend to incarnate into very athletic bodies. And oftentimes, Lyran starseeds will incarnate into larger human bodies, whether that is taller, more athletic, more muscular, because again, starseeds from the Lyran system have that love of physical activity. So they tend to incarnate into bodies that will support that. So unlike some of the other starseed races that we have talked about that don't fit so well into these dense human physical bodies, the Lyran starseeds tend to have very thriving relationships with their bodies. So they tend to be in a physical body that is strong, healthy, tall, athletic, muscular. So all of these are signs that may indicate that someone is a Lyran starseed. Another thing that is a little unique to the Lyrans is that they are known to need more sleep than the average person. So it is very common amongst Lyran starseeds to need to have 9 or more hours of sleep a night. So this is something that just helps regenerate and reboot the Lyran Starseed. So if you are someone who needs more sleep than you think you should, or think that the average person does, that can be a sign that you are a Lyran Starseed. And finally, one other thing that you will notice about many Lyran Starseeds is they have a very deep love of music. They are tending to be very drawn to anything musical, whether that is singing or playing music, or even learning modalities and healing methods that are based on sound healing, toning, resonance, are all things that are very common to Lyran starseeds. And that may be one of the reasons why one of the very common symbols of the Lyrans themselves and Lyran starseeds is the harp. So I hope this helps you, and I will see you next time. Bye.